There comes a time in a dad or mom's life where they still want to have fun, but the GTI boot just ain't big enough anymore. What about a fast car with a 600-litre boot? In steps the Octavia RS. Hopefully the addition of 3 Isofix seats will seal the deal if you're trying to have that conversation at home. I really like it though. Another fact that might help you seal the deal if you're in discussions, in talks, or just having an argument about buying a new car in 2021, the RS or VRS, depending where you're coming from or watching this video, is available for €42,000, as you see it here in the flesh. Okay, so there's a couple of extras on this RS, but not too many. The paint, which is gorgeous, is an extra €200. The wheels are standard, the seats are standard, as is the flat bottom steering wheel, the nav. The things that do cost a little bit extra are things like electric seats and blind spot, which are very handy. People always ask in these videos, they come back for comments and comments, what's the colour? Racing Blue Metallic is the colour. So the difference between this and just a standard Octavia, which by the way, if you want to watch the video for the normal Octavia, it's up there. I have reviewed it on the channel. It's been watched all over the world by over 200,000 people. This grille is a little bit different. This VRS badging. There's some fake grillness going on here and down here, but then a little bit back, just at the edge of the car, there are air intakes and the air flows over the 19-inch alloy wheels sitting in front of red calipers, again, all standard. The Octavia RS is no Golf R, but you have to do the man maths and say a Golf R with some decent upgraded leather seats and upgraded alloys and a few extra bits are going to cost you 60, maybe even up to €70,000. This thing, even with some extras, even with blind spot and I don't know, maybe a heads-up display or something, it's still remarkably cheaper. Even though this is the RS version of the Octavia, it would be remiss of me not to mention the massive 600-litre boot that you can nearly fit a family of 4 into. There's loads of simply clever Skoda-ness going on, stuff inside I'll tell you about in a second, but you've got dividers here in your boot, there is a spare wheel down here, the seats fold down. This thing won't quite tuck under the actual false carpet, if you get me, the boot itself, but it can actually fit in here. So if you were laying things on top of it, it could work, but it would be nice if it tucked away out of sight. This version of the car doesn't have an electric boot, but there is a handle to close it, making life a bit easier for you. Massive black spoiler with black Skoda lettering on the back of the car, and VRS badging down here says this is a little bit different. The back of the Octavia also has an edge over hot hatches because there's more leg room, there's more space for head height. The sloping rear line design of the car doesn't really impact. You still get a central armrest if you just got 2 passengers in the back that opens nicely. The seats are a little bit different. There's little bits of fake carbon fibre going on. You'll either think they look a bit cheap or you'll think they add to the sporty feel of the car. 2 USB-Cs down here. You don't get climate control in the rear, but you do get device pockets for storage of things. They are down here though. If you wanted to hold them and actually be watching it as you drive, they'd be better off up here. But there is a little cutout in the centre of the back support of the seat, giving you a little bit of visibility in towards, well, the back of the driver's head. More of those simply clever touches like coat hangers up here and massive storage areas in the door for rear passengers, which are carpeted. I think it would be kind of hard to get into the front of the RS and not be impressed by the massive leather bucket seats. Just a little bits over the shoulders here, there's a little bit of give in the stitching where you can tell it's a mass-produced seat. Little giveaway signs that it's a cheaper alternative. The fake carbon fibre trim, not going to be to everybody's cup of tea, and the Alcantara, or sort of suede feeling, I think that looks okay. What I do really like is the screen. You've still got buttons down here to select modes and put into sport mode and individual mode, and you can do a fake augmented exhaust sound. I'll discuss it later on in the video. I've kind of gotten used to it. It is missing a heads-up display. It would add to the car's dynamic, no doubt about it. Your displays can be set up with loads of different options. You can display what you want on the left, display what you want on the right, and it's all in colour, and when it lights up at night time in whatever colour you've selected, looks best in red, I think. It really does feel pretty classy. Things like heated seats are operated with the touch of a button. It is on the screen, but they're always down the bottom. These vents are in a peculiar place, a bit like the Leon and the Golf. Some people complain that they're more down here and there's nothing up here going on to keep you warm. And then the side ones are obviously aimed towards the windows. So I don't think it gets cold or anything, but some people mightn't like how they blow onto your knees. There's a sliding armrest. You know how I feel about them on the channel, hopefully by now. Good storage options down here. The little nibby bits to open a bottle and twist it as you're on the move. More Simply Clever stuff, and a sliding cover here that you can keep things out of sight. Speaking of Simply Clever, you may have missed the previous Octavia video I did on the channel, but up here is the USB-C output for you to use a dash cam for. Nobody else has thought of that. It's incredible. I find the screen easy to use, navigate your way through navigation, for example, and see maps there. And one thing that's very cool, and it seems to update itself in the background, it will even pick up temporary road closures, like a road that's just 5 minutes from you here, and it'll tell you you can't go down there at the moment. Swipe down and you can get to some shortcuts, maybe turn off stop, start, or just get into the home button for maybe setting up Bluetooth options or how your air is recirculated. Whatever you want, you can change them and add to them as well. So it's in the settings. Now there's lots of things that do involve menus behind those screens, like turning off traction control and stuff. It takes a little bit longer than if there was just physical buttons here, but there is a shortcut to climate and the different modes in the vehicle. That fake augmented rumble comes part of the car with the 2-litre TDI with 200 brake horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque, which means you're never struggling to overtake anything. You can turn it off, by the way, if it drives you mad. There's petrol versions of the Octavia RS, including a plug-in hybrid version of it with 245 brake horsepower, and I'll be bringing those to the channel over the next few weeks and months. The petrol version gets a limited slip though, the diesel doesn't, and it's obviously going to be a bit more nose heavy because of the diesel lump sitting up front. There's no doubt the car doesn't handle the same as a Golf GTI. It just doesn't. It's a longer car and it's just not set up in the same way as a GTI would be, but it's still a car that you can have fun in, especially in a straight line. And in motorways, it's going to achieve like 56 miles per gallon, maybe 5 litres per 100 kilometres, thereabouts. Currently I'm achieving about 7 litres per 100 kilometres, no matter how you drive it, good, bad or indifferent. That said, it still does like a twisty road, and although you're not going to be able to chuck it around the same as a hot hatch and certainly not a Golf R, you still have fun in it. And you have to remember, it's a car that it can go fast, it can carry people, it's got a massive boot, so it is the perfect all-rounder. You're just going to have to sacrifice the handling of the car a little bit for all that other goodness. The brakes are well up to the job also. When you are pushing on, it's never stuck for stopping power. I personally like that rumble actually. It just kind of adds to the whole thing. I know on paper it's like, oh, fake engine sounds really... It's alright, you get used to it. Not that it affects the driving experience of the car whatsoever, but wireless charging for your phone and a heads-up display, they're two little things that I do wish the car had, and again, it would just really make it stand out from some of the opposition. The amount of people that look at this car in traffic and take notice of it is quite remarkable. Certainly for me, I've had people ask me about it, certainly just be staring at it, and they don't think you're looking, and you're like, hey, check it out my car, man. The gear shifts are so fast. It's just boom, boom, gone. The steering will get heavier the faster you go, and I like how it points. Like it's got a good sense of turn in it, and the actual turning circle of the car is actually really positive, and you can do a 3-point turn easy peasy. But how direct and sharp the steering is very good. The only criticism I do have is it doesn't really give you a whole sense of what's going on underneath the wheels. That kind of feedback that you might get in other cars isn't there, but it's certainly sharp steering, and how there's no messing around. As soon as you turn it, it's pointing whatever direction you want to go in. So I'm only knocking points off just for that. I certainly have a soft spot for the Octavia in general. I think it's just the car that you really, I've said it so many times in the previous video, it's all the car you'll ever need. And if you slap on the RS badge and all the trims that come as part of that, really is the ultimate kind of, I won't say sleeper car, but you can see why police in certain countries use these as cars for chasing scroats, because there's a good chance in one of these they'll be able to catch them. Oh, that burst of torque, 400 Newton meters. When you want a car that's just easy to drive, makes no fuss, doesn't make any loud noises, just cruises along and blends in, the Octavia also does that all day long. It's like as if it's got a split personality, to be honest with you. As I sit here at a level crossing, I get to contemplate, you know, sitting behind a car like this, and does it make you feel special, as some hot hatches and hot saloons, performance cars should. There is some sense of occasion in the car, especially when you look at your surroundings, and although it's an Octavia in every sense of the words, the extra trim and seats and perforated steering wheel, they do make you kind of feel like you're in something a little bit different. And I think people are going to jump into your car and be impressed by it and think, oh, that is something a bit special. Yeah, I see why they love their car so much. And then when you want to have a bit of a blast like that, it is well capable of doing it. And it sounds, I know it's a fake engine noise, but it sounds so good on full chat. Now sure, coming into a roundabout, it's not quite GTI style handling, but in a straight line there's going to be absolutely nothing in it. This thing can properly shift, like. I'll never get tired of that flat bottom steering wheel. Just because it's an RS model, they've still thought of keeping your hair dry if it's raining with the umbrella. Well, most people's hair dry anyway. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the Octavia RS, the 2021 model. It's not a Golf R, doesn't drive like a Golf R, doesn't even drive like a Golf GTI. But it's great to have something else. It genuinely turns heads. Maybe it's the colour, maybe it's the alloys, maybe it's just the fact that it's a nice looking Skoda, but genuinely people on the street as I drive by in traffic, it gets eyes all the time. It's kind of hard to argue with it at €42,000. Sure, there's the electric seats and the blind spot and the metallic paint, which is a €200 upgrade, well worth it. But all in all, it's an awful lot of car, especially if you went for the combi model with the boot. I mean, what else would you need? Sure, you can get badge snobby about it and you can go, yeah, but it's not a Porsche and I'd love a Ferrari and we'd all love to win the lotto. You just keep coming back to the price though. It's serious value when you think of the output, even to the petrol hybrid version of it, which I'll have on the channel in a few weeks' time. You might actually call the RS the ultimate dad's car, especially if dad has previously owned a Golf GTI. Thank you very much for watching this review of the new Octavia RS. If you'd like to support the channel, there's links down below. Please comment on the car, give us your thoughts on them. Have you owned the previous versions of it? How were they for reliability, and how much fun did you still get to have in it despite it being a larger car? As always, a subscription to the channel is also most welcome if you haven't subscribed yet. I'll see you on the next one.